Jacob Ramsey, West Ham are heavily linked with him today. And I know yesterday we did the video about Matías Fernandes. Love that player. We covered that yesterday. We absolutely love him. But I'd forgotten all about Ramsey. I really had. I'd completely forgotten about him because we were linked to him earlier on in the window. And then Tottenham were linked to him, do you remember? And Aston Villa were going to have to sell Ramsey by June the 30th. I think is that possibly when the new PSR calculation period starts and ends. They needed £55 million and they were going to sell Ramsey to... They wouldn't have got 55 million for him, but they were going to use that to claw some of the money back to pay their PSR. In the end, they were very, very creative with their accounting. They sold their women's team back to themselves for 55 million. No PSR problems, no issue. So it died, really, didn't it? And also, Jacob Ramsey, if you watch him play for Aston Villa, in the main, plays sort of left midfield, if you want. He's not quite a left winger, is he? But he plays over that side of the pitch. Maybe in the sort of position where you'd see Lucas Paqueta playing in the final season under David Moyes. And I think because there were a lot of people wondering whether Tottenham were buying Kudus, maybe to play on that left-hand side, I don't know. But when Tottenham bought Kudus, the Ramsey to Tottenham rumours died down, and certainly the Ramsey to West Ham rumours died down. Didn't hear anything more about it until this morning. So it's not even been on the radar when I've been thinking about players that West Ham might bring in. It's been so focused on, well, Fernandes to a lesser extent, Jashiri to Harvey Elliott's been the big one doing the rounds. It's just not been spoken about. But I like Ramsey. Really, really good player. And I think you look at his qualities, certainly somebody, he's got a bit of everything about him. He travels really well with the ball, he's a decent enough passer, he can score goals, but he's high energy, gets back, he makes tackles, and it has all the qualities to suggest he could play in central midfield. So I thought, actually, I quite like this one. And Jacob Ramsey, realistically, probably I think would have moved about more in the Aston Villa team, but I think quite possibly the signing of Morgan Rogers has been so good for Aston Villa, such a good player, that it's limited that. So it doesn't mean Ramsey's a bad player, just because Ramsey's not quite as good as Morgan Rogers, don't mean he's a bad player. I think he'd be a very, very good player. I think he'd be a good player for West Ham. Anyway, I was talking about it this morning and saying, oh, this would be a good one. And somebody said, but hold on, he's a Salthouse client. So, is he? Damn it. Because obviously the natural thing is you've got the whole Will Salthouse association with David Sullivan, and that's no good thing because it looks like Salthouse has an over-influence on West Ham. And so I think almost automatically you almost got to look at it and be a bit of a downer. So if it's someone that's a Salthouse client, you automatically go, we won't bother with that. But I think you've got to be more nuanced with that. And it's certainly something that I myself have tried to learn to be, because I thought exactly that when we were linked with Michael Cooper, who's the goalkeeper at Sheffield United earlier on, at the weekend or earlier on this week. We were linked with him. I thought, I was guilty of it. Typical. Will Salthouse, that's just why we're getting him. But, well, firstly, I watched Gio's video, and Gio said actually he's a very, very good goalkeeper. Then I started listening to some other people who said actually he's a very, very good goalkeeper. And I thought, well, hold on a second. He's all right, okay, fair enough. Now, do we mind if Will Salthouse gives us a player that's good? No, because Aaron Wan-Bissaka was brilliant. Was my favourite player, everyone's favourite player mostly of last season. No problem with that. I think what we don't like I think Salthouse might have been involved in Lopetegui last season. So 2 deals last season, one of them brilliant, one of them crap. It's when things like Callum Wilson, that's bad, because what the Callum Wilson deal looks like, it looks like he's having influence and forcing players not just onto the club, but I think the biggest problem for me at least is on Graham Potter. I don't see a lot of difference between Callum Wilson and Danny Ings. They might as well just be the same. I just see it as a sort of injury-prone striker at the end of their career who's probably not going to play too much. So I think what's the point in signing him? I don't believe for a second that Graham Potter wants Callum Wilson. I just don't believe it. So when you see he's being signed, you think, well, this is not good. This is not healthy. And I also think, in regard to the Cooper one has been dismissed anyway. So I'm very, very certain now. I don't know we're going to sign him, but I'm very certain that Graham Potter's choices are Hermansen, and Suzuki. I think those are the two people that Potter has identified with the new football coach, the new goalkeeping coaches that have come in. If you saw Cooper come in, or the other lad who'd been linked to, whose name escapes me, you'd think, hold on, that's not good. That's not good. But it all becomes a little bit complicated. It all becomes, there's so much stuff flying around. It's all very conspiratorial around West Ham at the moment. And I just want to bring in some good players. And I want to bring in good, young players. So when they don't seem to be good and young, I don't want them to come in. When they are, and I certainly put Ramsey into that category. Well, actually, to be fair, Wan-Bissaka wasn't good and young. He was 27, 26, 27, whatever he was. No problem with that at all. If we can bring in someone as good as Aaron Wan-Bissaka, then I've got no problem. And I like Jacob Ramsey. And I think the thing is, what I don't want to be is having a downer on him and I've got to be more nuanced than that. I don't want my opinion of him as a player to change just because of who his agent is, because clearly they're going to have some good and some crap players on their books. We just don't want to be given the crap ones. Give us a chance to get in Ramsey. Hey, look, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. The player himself, I really, really like what I see with this guy. I think he's absolutely what we need. I think he's exactly the type of player we need. And you haven't got to worry about him adapting to the Premier League. And something I've been talking about the whole time. Does somebody get into our first team? He does. He gets into our first team. Absolutely. It was really interesting, actually, reading the comments on yesterday's video, because yesterday we did the video about who should go and who should stay, and who was on your cull list. We mentioned we had 9 midfielders. Who's going to go? And I thought some of the comments were absolutely brilliant on there. But I want to pick up on one of those comments now, because it was something I hadn't even remotely considered, and it was such a good post. I think I'd just like to pop it up on the screen. So I'm going to do a hard edit in a minute, and I'll pop that on the screen. Before I do, just want to point you in the direction of our raffle. Well, I keep saying it closed on Wednesday. Today it doesn't. It's actually Sunday. My mistake on that one. Signed Mark Noble's shirt. That's the last season at Upton Park one. We have got a match-worn COVID shirt. I could call it a COVID shirt. It's the NHS one. You don't contract COVID by wearing a shirt. A match worn by Mark Noble. Really good prizes. And a captain's armband signed by Mark Noble. Tickets are £5 each. Buy 2 tickets, which is a tenner, obviously, and you get the 3rd ticket free. So you get 15 quid's worth of tickets for a tenner. Links in the description below. Go and check it out. Go and check out our review so you can see us all above board and bona fide and all that stuff. Yeah, go and get yourself involved. We'd really, really appreciate that. So this comment is from somebody called @ButPaolo. Really good. Hadn't considered this at all. He said, Gonzo, I don't dispute your logic from a usage standpoint, but Potter's problem with James Ward-Prowse is the price Moyes paid for him, about £30 million, and what he's worth now, possibly £8 million, which would be a loss under PSR. We would need £15 million to break even. Conversely, Souček would probably be sold as profit, as his original contract ended in 2024, which basically means his purchase price would be written off. So whatever Souček could be sold for would be profit. He said sell both Souček and Ward-Prowse, and it's still a positive of 7 million from a Premier League PSR perspective, but a positive in terms of 23 million from a cash flow. That's a great post. He's thought this through, and I hadn't even given it any consideration at all. That's that. It's a depreciation, isn't it? It's the depreciation. You buy a player for 50 million on a 5-year contract. Then after he's done 1 year, he's worth 40 million. After he's done 2 years, he's worth 30 million. And that's what he's talking about. So and the reason he's saying that is because he's correcting me. Because in yesterday's video, I said, just make a loss on these players. It doesn't matter if you make a loss. And he's saying, well, actually it does. So that's a really, really great post there. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And it gives me a lot of food for thought on this stuff. What he's saying is, it ain't that easy to sell James Ward-Prowse. And he features highly on people's lists. I've just got lists of everybody that commented on the video yesterday, and just so many of them. I've got one here from Fido. He says, hello, Gonzo. My call is Irving, Rodriguez, Cornet, Emerson. If we get a new keeper, he'd sell Areola. Actually, he says, I'm keeping James Ward-Prowse for one more season as cover. This is great. Look, it's all about opinions. And that's why I wanted to know, because I just didn't think it was easy to I think everybody would look at that list of 9 midfielders and say, we can't do that. We cannot keep all of these players. So it was just interesting to see which ones you would get rid of. But yeah, definitely a completely different perspective on that James Ward-Prowse stuff. I hadn't considered it for a second. Of course, that is really, really important. So you are going to do that if you have, and I don't know if Graham Potter values James Ward-Prowse as the same. When I say value, I don't mean money. I mean in terms of his importance to the squad. It may well be that Graham Potter thinks what Ward-Prowse is equally important as Thomas Souček. For me, my own personal opinion is Souček is the more important for all the reasons I've discussed on numerous videos. I won't bore you with saying the same thing again now. But if Potter thinks of them both as the same, they're both going to offer me the same sort of impact in the squad, then he's got to sell Souček by that rationale, by the PSR rationale. I don't want to see him go, but that sort of makes sense. And it's I don't like all the financial stuff. I like the fact it's been pointed out, and I completely comprehend what Paolo's saying. But I hate all that. It's like I guess it's like the agent stuff as well. I sort of don't want to hear that we can't sign a certain player because of an agent. I don't want to hear that we can't sign a player because of finances. I just want West Ham to have a good team, and I want to look forward to watching the games next season. There's been so much misery around West Ham. There's so much negativity. It's draining. It's absolutely draining. It really is, and I can't. I've got to start looking forward to the season. I absolutely do. I've got to put my suspicions to one side. I've got to put my suspicions with my worries about Potter to one side. I just want to start hoping for the best. I couldn't tell you how much of a better mood I was in after like the Preston Fearon and Freddie Potts stuff. You know, after the last game against Man U, I thought, I'm actually enjoying this. I enjoyed it the first time I saw Magic Diouf play in the Grasshoppers game. I loved it when Lewis Orford pinged that pass over the top to him. I thought, that's brilliant. I've been enjoying, maybe some of the footage that's been put out by the West Ham media team with Nicholas Fulkrug in particular. I've been enjoying that, and I thought this is what's been missing. It's been so miserable. It's been so melancholy, so depressing, so finger pointing, just a conspiratorial claptrap. I thought, you know what? We're here. We're at the start of the season. Am I worried about relegation? Yeah, that's still there. Am I worried about the ownership? Yeah, that's still there. Am I worried about influence of agents? Yeah. But I think it comes a point where, we got some football games coming up, and it's amazing how quickly things change if you can go. I don't think it'd be easy because I think Sunderland have bought well, but you go to Sunderland, you get a result, and perhaps we should because they've just been promoted, but they've bought well and they seem to be well organised, and that's going to be raucous. That's going to be a really, really loud stadium, and rightly so. Sunderland have been promoted. They're probably hard for Sunderland to watch Newcastle doing as well as they have over the last few years. So they're going to be in the Premier League. They're going to be raucous. It's not going to be easy, but I'm looking forward to it. And I find myself maybe getting a little bit more positive. Somebody actually messaged me yesterday and said, did I notice a hint of positivity in your video yesterday? And it was when I said, I think West Ham are going to sign somebody this week. Not because I know anything, but I don't know. Well, we should and we ought to, let's be fair, because the season starts... Well, the season starts in 2.5 weeks, Gio told me earlier. And I think the window ends in a month. So we need to start now. Look, we need to get it done. I just feel like I've spent the last 3-4 months worrying, you know what I mean? And now I want to try and look forward to it, and getting a midfielder over the line will play a big, big part in that. Jacob Ramsey, he's up there. I'd like him like I'd like Fernandes. I definitely would be happy if we brought him in, irrespective of all that other stuff that's going on.